You've heard us talk about how much we love Zencastr.
We've told you about how awesome their podcasting platform is, how easy it is to host, record, and publish Adventures in Collecting with their all-in-one web app.
Well, now they're giving you, our listeners, the opportunity to support us and the nearly 30,000 other podcasts powered by Zencastr.
That's right. Now you can invest in the podcasts you love through Zencastr's crowdfunding campaign.
For as little as $100, join a community of other investors who seek to help Zencastr and independent podcasters like us succeed.
If you're interested in investing in Zencastr, go to wefunder.com/Zencastr or click the link in our episode description below to claim your slice of the future of podcasting.
That's wefunder.com/ZENCASTR.
And dads. Adventures in Collecting is about toys, but it might not be for your children, especially if you don't like words like f*** or sh** or a**hole.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
Dave, 2 weeks in a row. Full-length episode 2 weeks in a row. This must be a special occasion.
It is. I really have nothing to add. Like every now and again, you get a little surprise, and with February being a shorter month, here's your surprise for this month.
I guess we could say this is our Valentine's Day gift to you, our listeners, right? Because this is the day before Valentine's Day. This is good old Monday the 13th. Yeah. So happy Valentine's Day, listeners.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Our gift to you is 2 weeks in a row of full-length episodes and a new friend of the pod, a new guest, a first-time guest. You may sense kind of a theme here, back-to-back episodes, cool stories about indie toy makers who are making wrestling figures. So we're continuing the trend here. Running a successful toy store these days is no small feat, especially, surviving the pandemic and everything that we just kind of went through the last 2 years. But doing it while starting your own wrestling figure line in an already crowded field is another story entirely. This week's guest is doing just that. Joining us to tell us about his store and the new Grapplers and Gimmicks line is the hustle man himself, Mitch, from Hastteltoy. Mitch, welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Hey, what's up, boys? How we doing today?
We're doing well.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there.
Yes.
Nothing but love from Mitch from Hastteltoy, and I mean that sincerely.
We're going to give you some audio treats.
Nice. Nice.
Sure.
I mean, my wife says nice things about my audio. I don't know. Maybe I could just share it with the entire world now. So
there you go. Perfect.
But thank you sincerely for having me on, and it's a pleasure. I'm glad I finally made it to the podcast. I'm excited to talk about all things grapplers and gimmicks and toys. So it's my life. So I like talking about it.
So before we jump into the toy line and the store, the first thing that we like to ask all of our guests, as this is a show about collecting, what are you currently collecting, and what are some of the more recent things you've picked up?
Well, personally, I don't know if it's sadly or if it's intelligently, but I don't collect wrestling stuff anymore. It's been like that for quite a few years now. Basically, since I took the next step and I took the leap of selling toys for a living. I figured since we do a lot of wrestling stuff, and especially in the beginning, Hastteltoy was all wrestling. There was no Ninja Turtles or any other such things. So I just cut out wrestling from my diet as far as figures go, and it's sad. It was very sad in the beginning, but I survived, and now I provide them. The less I collect, the more I can give to the public because it's less stuff that I'm keeping and hoarding for myself. So, but I do like the most recent thing I bought was probably the NECA Dracula, Bela Lugosi Dracula. We had them because we obviously are an official retailer of NECA. So when I get them, those are the things I usually wind up hoarding is one of each of those from the case. So we did get recently the Dracula Bela Lugosi, and I kept also his coffin, which was the accessory pack for old Drac himself. So those are the newest thing. Those are the newest things that I got. But I do collect a lot of like Universal Monsters stuff, horror memorabilia, Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles. And I do all different scales. Indiana Jones, Batman Returns is my favorite Batman movie. So
Awesome.
I collect lots of Batman Returns stuff. So that's but the wrestling figures, I will have to throw in there that little Hassel Jr. there, my son, Mitch Jr. He does collect a lot of wrestling figures. So through him, I get to still live my childhood through my son's eyes, and I get to play wrestling with him. So
There's nothing wrong with a little vicarious collecting.
Yes,
but
nothing at all.
Me too. And so, he likes to try to put me in wrestling moves now, and it's always fun to watch your 60-pound son who's 8 years old try to he thinks he's going to suplex you or something onto the bed or something like that. But I just go along with it. You know what I mean? And I gotta admit, I've jobbed a lot to my son. So
I was gonna say, are you not putting the kid over, Mitch? Come on.
I have to, even if it's just a finger poke of doom from my son, I have to do it. You know what I mean? So
it's fair. It's a fair outcome. So you mentioned the store.
Yes.
How did you get into the collectible business?
Well, I mean, I'm a lifelong collector of action figures. So that's mainly thanks to my mom because she kind of pushed me in that direction, I guess, when I was younger, which at the time, I guess, video games were still kind of in their infancy as far as Nintendo. I remember when I got my first NES, but that's a story for another time. But I always loved playing with action figures. I thought it was cool that you could always, do different things and you use your imagination. So that's why I'm kind of happy that my son is one of the rare kids these days that still enjoys playing with toys. But yeah, so lifelong collector. And then, as time went on, like early 2000s, like 2007, 2008, I got my first account with a major toy company, which was Jakks Pacific at the time. And then I started doing, buying wholesale and selling wrestling figures and stuff like that. Sadly, it didn't last that long because only a few short years later, Mattel took over. And as much as we know and love Mattel, their minimum order quantities and stuff to get stuff directly from them is a lot more than it was with Jakks. So I kind of dipped out a little bit there. And then I believe it was like 2017 was when the retros came out. So I started buying those, and then I quickly morphed into me reselling used Hasbros, and then it just turned into like a second job. And then, after that, it's kind of just snowballed from Hasbros to old Jakks figures to LJNs to, so on and so forth. And then from that spawned all the other good geek things that we love to collect, Marvel superheroes and all that other good stuff. So it kind of just happened. And I mean, I've owned a DJ company for 23 years. That was my real job for a long time. Weddings, sweet 16s, communions, mitzvahs, things like that. MC, DJ, get out there and show them how it's done type thing. And then that kind of just turned into, this is a side job. Basically, the toys, selling the toys was basically just to kind of recoup the money that I had spent on my own toy addiction. So I don't know. It just happened. And then I kind of started dealing with Cardona before he even had a podcast about toys. And then he kind of helped put me on the map. And that's why I say, as much as they bust my bananas, to say it, kindly, it's all in love. I know that. And if you know, right? So that's it.
Yep.
So they helped me out a lot. So I'm always indebted to them, those guys.
So in all the years, of kind of doing the store now and seeing the different things come through the shop, what are some of the craziest things that you've had the opportunity to kind of pass along to other collectors?
Wow, countless amounts of Hasbros for sure. That was like my claim to fame at one time. I guess I was the Hasbro guy for a while. You know what I mean, online. And then, so all those rare ones, mail away Hogans, mail away Undertakers. It's still kind of hard to decipher whether you have a mail away Bret Hart or not, because they still put that Purple Heart Bret as a variant in one of their series there. So, but yeah, mailaways, prototypes, several of which that I sold to our friend Matt Cardona. Mention him again. But
I think we have to pay him $1 every time we say his name. I think
is that right? I think he should pay me $1 every time. That son of a gun. But I had a Diesel wrestling buddy, which I sold to Matt, and I know he still has that in his collection. It was the prototype, one of the prototypes for the Just Toys wrestling buddies that never came out. So that was the first thing I'd sold to him, which was probably one of the rarest things that I ever acquired. And then there were a couple other things too that I kind of either indirectly or directly helped him acquire. One of them may or may not be the Diesel 2-up head wax sculpt from somebody who used to work for Hasbro. And then, there was a couple other things that were super rare that they elude me right now. But I know I definitely, most of the rare stuff went to that guy.
So with that rare stuff, like, were you actively seeking those kinds of things out, or were they coming into you as, because you had kind of developed the reputation as like the Hasbro guy?
That is a great question. And I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. Usually I have to volunteer that information. But originally it was before I had a storefront or anything like that. It was me going out and hunting and like, lead after lead. And it just, it's not easy, especially now with the power of the internet and everything like that. Like, people know what stuff is worth for the most part. It's not like you can just, and not that you want to deceive people either, but, to try to get some sweet deals where you want to kind of capitalize on it and build a company.
Those flea market days are over.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have professional thrifters out there. You know what I mean? That's like, that says it all, right? I mean, these people are literally making, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just thrifting stuff, But yeah, so in the beginning it was really hard. It was, going out but then once you start, making nice with people and they see that you're a pretty decent fella, and there's a lot of these other folks out there that are not so kind, they start coming to you. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, listen, I just got this medical bill and, I need the money and, can you help me out? You know what I mean? It's not always like, people are always thinking of like, and it's, God forbid, it's sad to say, but people are always thinking about like the, arm scratching people that are coming in and, looking for money to do, things, a lot of the time it is people that, need money for legitimate medical expenses or need money to pay bills, or they had a car accident and they need a car, or So there's always those people, and like I think I had a good reputation, and I still do, for giving people like top resale dollar for their stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's guys that want to pay you, 50 cents a Hasbro, and I was out there paying a few dollars a Hasbro. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's a great question. They a lot of the time now, especially with everything that went on the last few months, moving here and all that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of refreshing that I can just kind of have people come to me and give me stuff. You know what I mean? So, but yeah,
that seems to be like a common thread for what we've heard from other people, where it's like, once you are kind of known to be like, a friendly place for things to go, and like, somebody who kind of looks out for the hobby, that stuff tends to find you.
yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from too, like the fact that I still am a collector. Obviously not wrestling stuff anymore, but still collecting stuff and still trying to piece together like vintage collections and stuff of figures I had when I was a kid. I know the deal, man. Like, how many times like I was in years ago where I was in need of money to pay bills or make rent or whatever the story was, and I would sell my stuff. You know what I mean? So I know what it feels like, and it really sucks to have to do it. But I just kind of, and I was lucky enough that I had a lot of friends in this business that I was able to, when I had to do things like that to make money, that I was always there. My friends were always there for me, and I was always able to get a decent amount of money for stuff. So kind of just want to pay it forward, I guess, or however they like to say it these days, these kids, but it's, I feel like an old man. I'm 40 years old, people, but I feel like 140 sometimes.
You're amongst peers in that regard.
Yeah.
So
cheers.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how hobbies kind of survive too, is with that pay it forward. Like the next generation if the previous generations just keep everything, the next generations don't get a chance to know what it is.
Yep. And that's another thing too. And that's why, like, I came up with this whole algorithm of why Hasbro's became so valuable at one point. And a lot of that has to do with what you just said too. And part of that is the reason. It was because the retros came out, so it reinvigorated everyone to go and buy these Hasbros that they had when they were kids, which was great. And kudos to Mattel for doing that. And they're really the ones responsible for the revival of the old school wrestling figures. The other thing was, over time, these things get lost or they get destroyed or they go down in a ship or God forbid there's a fire and people lose their stuff. And, somebody stuck a firecracker up Ultimate Warrior's rear end and it blew up, like, so there's, as time goes on, since 1990, they've depleted more and more. And then you have all the customizers that broke them apart, so, and then the last thing that I kind of, came up with was that, like what you said, like they're getting locked up in collections, you know what I mean? And now people aren't letting them go because they went through hell and high water to get these things. You know what I mean? So now they're like, I'm not, this is going to my detolf. You know what I mean? They could bury this shit with me. That's so I don't know. It kind of tied into what you said. I ramble sometimes. People get over it. But yeah. So very true what you said. You guys make some really good points. I got to tell you, I've been on like probably 6 or 7 podcasts since I started the toy line, and you guys got some good stuff, man. I'm very impressed. I mean that sincerely. So.
Well, thank you. We try.
Yeah, we do what we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's people that are true collectors, and that's the heart of it. You know what I mean? If you're just somebody out there looking to make money, and obviously the money is good, and obviously I have to pay my bills too. But when you're a collector, you understand, unless you've lost your way over time, but you understand like what needs to be done, and how you should treat others. You know what I mean? So, so that's
So you mentioned you've been doing a little bit of a tour here, because you have some news,
Yeah.
as you've recently launched your own toy line. So,
Yeah.
tell us how did Grapplers and Gimmicks come to exist?
It's a song as old as time, people. I started mid early 90s when Hasbro's were ceased to exist. Uh, I just was one of those people that couldn't let go, and they were just so near and dear to my heart that I would literally make customs. I took paint and paintbrush and broke heads off of Hasbro's, and this is way before the boom. So obviously, you were getting them for like 3 for $10, and even KB had them for a little bit after that. Um, but man, if I had a time machine, but
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
Bargain bin Hasbro's.
Yeah.
I remember those KB rolling carts of just filled with. Yep.
I remember how it smelled. Like I remember going into KB and how they used to have those. They were like, how do you describe it? It's almost like if if you're listening and you know what grid wall was, and if you weren't around and you weren't alive in this time to be in KB, they were like grid walls, like these. It was almost like a basket, but a big one with wheels on it, and they would just dump them. They must have literally just opened up the cases and dumped them into
Yep.
this. Into
No
this
one cared about
box.
mint cards.
No.
Yeah, it's
And
like
it was-
how you see DVDs at Walmart now. Like
It's
or
like
or dollars like
yes,
dollar stores.
yes,
Yeah, like
yes.
dollar
Walmart
store.
DVDs.
Yeah.
Thank you for the analogy. That's exactly
Yeah.
what the F they were. Like when you go to Walmart and they have these DVDs for $5 or $3 or 10, whatever it is, in that, mix and match movies. That's exactly what it was. It was those exact things. They had those grids on them. And holy cow, man! Like I remember, like it was yesterday. I obviously grew up and lived in New York most of my life until I moved here to Ohio. But I had it was the Queen Center Mall. It was right across the street from where I went to high school, and literally
We're familiar.
walk right across the street from Cathedral Prep. That's where I went to high school, and there was a KB in that Queen Center Mall, and I remember leaving. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I remember leaving school and going to the mall, and holy crap, I went downstairs, down the escalator, because KB was on the bottom floor at the time, right outside the escalators. And I went in the KB and I saw this freaking giant bin of Hasbro's, and I was literally almost shit my pants. I remember seeing this, and I'm like, now, this meant a lot to a lot of other people at the time, but for me, it was like, holy crap! Now, I have all this. Like, I was literally buying them at the time, a lot of the time, just to rip them open and break them apart to make other Hasbro's, which sounds crazy now, but then it was like 3 for $10. You know how many wrestlers I can make out of these guys? You know what I mean? Oh man! But again, the smell. I just remember that smell of the plastic and the cardboard. You would be digging through this stuff, and I'm sure that girl behind the counter thought I was insane. But I remember, and of course, I had a limited budget then. I was only working, part time or whatever. So, I remember spending like my entire part time paycheck in there at one shot, like buying all I walked out with those big KB bags, with Hasbro's loaded up. They definitely thought I was insane for sure.
Digging through them, looking for where are those orange and yellow cards. There's got to be one, right?
They
There's gotta
have,
be one.
dude. You did. I'm like, holy crap, because that was my first thought. Like, holy shit. Like, am I gonna find Diesel in here? Because it was like the rumors were out there already. Like,
Yep.
You hadn't seen any of the prototype because there was no internet. People, not until like I think I got into like sophomore year of high school. There was no internet. Okay, so you didn't know anything. Like, all we knew was the Hasbro's were done, and that this company Jax was taken over, and it took them a year to produce a figure.
But there might be one more series.
There might be one more series. But holy shit, man. I remember digging. I remember Razor was in there. Kamala was in there. Owen Hart, maybe. There was Bret Hart from that series. There was really a weird assortment. There was, I think there was an IRS. I'm trying to remember everything that was in there, but I remember there was some foreign cards in there, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had like surplus of Spanish cards and French cards that were not in the English language, and that may or may not have been the first time I've even seen those, because I remember, collecting them from the beginning, and obviously we didn't get the foreign cards at Toys R Us or anything like that. So I remember seeing those. Oh man, what a good time! What a great trip down memory lane this has been.
Yeah.
That's also depressing because I'm old as shit now. Thanks, guys.
Dude, like, it's one of those things where when you get together with people like that are from, our generation, and like,
Yes.
especially on the East Coast, because we're in New Jersey. We grew up in New Jersey, still here.
Mhm.
Mill Creek Mall in Secaucus,
Or
you know,
Willowbrook Mall in
in
Wayne.
Wayne, yeah. But like, my fondest memories of KB, like, I can literally, if I close my eyes, I can picture exactly where it was. Not only is that KB gone, obviously, but the mall that it was in is also gone.
Oh, boo.
But like, I can vividly remember the smell of the mall. I can remember the
Oh,
the like brown tile floors that were in Mill Creek Mall. I can remember the way that the floor to ceiling, like those like glass door windows were like
yep.
set up, and like you could, before you even got to the store, like there were certain
There's like a
card
gazebo
backs.
in the middle of the
Oh,
mall.
yeah.
There were certain card backs that like you could see from a mile away. So like, I remember in
Yep.
'99 when Hasbro put out the episode 1 Phantom Menace figures, and they had those giant, the giant Darth Maul
Yep.
head was on the card back, and that it was right on like the front display window. And before you even got to the store, you were like, "There's a wall of figures waiting for me." Like,
Yes.
it's just
Mhm.
it's something, unfortunately, that like, I don't know if people are ever going to really properly experience again with like new stuff.
I
Like,
will tell you this. In where I am now, because I moved from one part of Ohio to like a 20-minute away in Ohio. We're in Hartville now. We were in Canton, but what happened was the foot traffic in the store that I had originally opened in Ohio was terrible. It wasn't that it was a bad store. We had a beautiful store, floor to ceiling, and it was like 1,500 square feet. Great store, great whatever customers we did get in there that were organic. Great customers. We made definitely some new friends, but it just wasn't, for the amount of rent I was paying there. It was not. It could not exist because I was taking my money from all my online sales and other things and shows and things like that we do, and I was paying bills for the store with that, which can't be if you're going to run a successful business. So I did it for a few months, but it had to be moved. So I moved to this other spot in Hartville, which it's called the Hartville Marketplace, and it's basically, if I had to describe it, it's not like a flea market that we know in New Jersey or New York or Long Island or anything like that. It's a market. It's a flea market technically, but it's set up almost like a mini shopping mall. So everybody has their own booth. They have restrictions on people that you have to be there at certain times, and and even though you're an independent contractor, you still got to kind of like be there when they're open. You know what I mean? So when I designed this store or space, I wanted it to kind of look like when you go to Comic Con, because we do New York Comic Con every year. But I wanted it to look like a Comic Con, booth, a massive one. But also, I kind of wanted it to be like a KB. And the reason for that is because as much as I love Toys R Us, I don't know how it was by you guys, but when you went to Toys R Us, most of the time, 9 out of 10, they didn't have shit because it was such a big store that they always had to cater to different like things, and then they had the Babies R Us stuff and the diapers and all. So it was like you hardly ever found anything at Toys R Us. When you went to KB, I felt like because they specified they didn't have diapers and baby wipes and formula and shit like that. They had figures. That was what you went there. And when you went there, they had stuff. Like there was, no matter what. I honestly cannot remember ever going into a KB and not buying something because they always had at least one thing that I liked. Maybe it's because I collected too much shit and I was in too much, I was into too many different action figures, but I always found something, be it Rocky, superheroes, wrestling, there was always something there to buy, you know what I mean? So, but in any case, when I designed this thing, when you approach it, my spot, my store, my space, whatever you want to call it, there's figures hanging on the outside, there's figures hanging on the inside, I got like 500 square feet right now, and let me tell you, man, I fit 2,000 square feet worth of shit in here neatly, and I was proud of myself. I'm very
That's
proud
awesome.
of myself.
I know exactly what you're talking about, by the way. I've been to one of those in like rural Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We drove past one, and I was like, I was so confused. Dave, you remember that one time I sent you the pictures of like the wrestling figure one? We were in PA, and it was the same thing. It said flea market, and I was like, oh, cool. Like flea market usually has like good snacks. Like we were out doing something. Like we had my daughter with us, and we were like,
handful of tables outside.
Yeah, we were like, let's stop. We'll grab some like fun flea market food, and a arepa maybe, and hit the road. And then we started walking around, and I was like, this is like unlike anything I have ever seen in New Jersey. And sure enough, one of the spaces was a wrestling figure one. And I just started sending Dave pictures. I was like, Dave, you gotta get in the car. You got
Yeah.
But it's wild how, just shifting from one space to another can completely, change your foot traffic.
It's so much better there. You know what I mean? And like I said, it really had nothing to do with me, because I had a lot of the people that follow. The great thing about going from New York, and at one time we were running both stores for a short period of time before I decided to move here. But like, the cool thing is that like I never got to meet the people that were following me for all these years that lived in Ohio. And I don't know why, but I never realized that like how big of a collecting community Ohio is, And I had people coming in like literally that have been buying from me for years, and they would just come in and they would like hug me, and they're like, "Thank you, like for all the good deals over the years." And I've literally had this happen several times, and I'm like, it catches you off guard, but it's like. It's awesome, because I didn't realize, like, I feel like even before I moved here, I kind of had a place here because of the collectors and the loyal people that followed me on Instagram and, bought stuff from me on my website and stuff like that. So, but it's just so cool, man. I'm so happy. My bills are much less now too, which, now it also afforded me the opportunity to start my own convention, which I felt like it was fate, you know what I mean? Not only with through the toy company, and then, now doing like my own toy shows and stuff like that. It's really cool, man. And they're definitely like all going to be geared towards fans. Like it's not all going to be just about making money. It's about doing something that I love to do, and you're so grateful for it. You know what I mean? People say blessed, you can say whatever you want, but it's great, man. I just, a lot of people get up in the morning, they hate their jobs. I got to be grateful for the things that I have. You know what I mean? Like I always try to look at the glasses half full type thing,
And now, a word from our sponsors.
This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you.
Hop into a new career with CGC. The world leader in pop culture collectibles grading, CGC is seeking world-class Funko Pop experts to lead a new division dedicated to authenticating and grading collectible toys. This is an incredible opportunity to help build a new grading service in a hot collectibles category. Think you can play the part? Apply today at cgcgrading.com/careers. That's cgcgrading.com/careers.
Breaking news! Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit.
From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code AIC for 20% off and free shipping.
It's time to tame your mane. No one likes a weird beard, Dave. So say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit.
Eric, it all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a juggernaut of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard, so no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. That's right, face grooming doesn't need to be hard. Get 20 different beard lengths in just one guard. Plus it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower to avoid all that hair in the sink. The titanium-coated T-blade is tough on hair, but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency. That brings satisfaction one stroke at a time.
Kit doesn't end there, though. They've created 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. First, there is the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember all your hair is different. Your beard hair is more coarse and easier to damage than the hair on your head. That's why the kit has made shampoo and conditioner specially designed to moisturize, reduce ingrown hairs, and replace natural oils and promote beard health. Next, the kit has Manscaped's Beard Oil, an essential piece for your main facial accessory. No one wants a guy whose beard is brittle and dry. The oil relieves dryness both on the beard and the skin beneath, while adding a little shimmer and shine, making you look extra fine.
Cap it all off with the Beard Balm, a pomade that shapes, styles, moisturizes, and tames for a sculpted look. It also comes with 3 free gifts: a beard brush, a comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress.
So what are you waiting for? Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AIC at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code AIC. Manscaped Beard Hedger. 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths.
And now, back to the show.
So speaking of that full glass, let's get back to the toy line itself. So
Sure.
the actual launch of Grapplers and Gimmicks. How did you get there?
Man, like I said, just the making the customs since I was a kid, and I always knew, like in my mind, like how I would want them to look if they had continued, and also the guys that I was making customs of in 95, 96, 97, 98. I think I was doing them up till almost the year 2000 when I graduated high school. So I was still making them then. You know what I mean? And it may not have been as much because then I started driving and then I started going out with girls and stuff like that. But you know, that's where it all spawned from. You know, like probably you guys are listening, not going to be able to see this, but this is the original Godfather custom that I made when I was a kid. So that's what I based the actual Godfather on. So you could see there was a inspiration there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only thing that I changed a little bit was that I decided not to give him as many tattoos because I wanted it to be as close as possible to the original Hasbro's. You know what I mean? When you put them together, you know what I mean? They look like they were supposed to be in the same. This is Ahmed, by the way. They look like they were supposed to be in the same generation. That's why, like, when I speak to my sculptors and stuff, I tell them, like, that looks too good. It's like they think I'm insane. All right. And I'm like, no, I want them to look old. Like, I want them to look old. That's too detailed. To me, this looks amazing. You know what I mean? Like, this is the way I want it to look. But they literally think,
but I'm gonna need it to look a little shittier. You're gonna need to.
Yes, yes. That's what I tell them. I'm not gonna lie. Like, and not that they trust me. I stand behind my inspirations here and my vision. They don't look shitty. Trust me. I promise you. You know, I'm not in any way demeaning my product here, but I will say that I believe in my heart, and this is not I believe everybody's doing God's work. If you're making a 4.5-inch wrestling figure that's meant or inspired by the Hasbros, you get my love. And I mean that sincerely. And that goes to, you know, Chella, Zombie, whoever decides to Brush, of course, you know, my buddy Sal, Brush Collectibles, he's doing the Zabisco and Jonah and all those ones.
We've had Sal on the show. We've had Zombie. Yeah, we're just collecting everybody.
Yes, and I love this. So you know, I love them all, but I want mine to look as close as possible to the old ones. I don't want them to be too detailed. I don't want them to be too shitty, but they have to have that. There's got to be that balance between. There's got to be that balance between realistic and cartoony. And as we all know and love, the Hasbros had like a perfect blend. And that's why, in my opinion, they're the greatest wrestling toy line that was ever made. And it's because they took the best of both worlds, the action figure look, and they took the realistic look, and they kind of just put them together. And it was like the perfect recipe. So that recipe... whereas it'll never be, no matter what, it'll never be as perfect. But I will try to get it as close as I can to that.
So you mentioned the Smoke Train, Charles Wright,
yep.
Tony Norris, Savio Vega, Mark Canterbury. I think you had Dennis Knight in there too. And you mentioned like your inspiration is all those figures that you tried to make as customs.
Right.
Will the line continue to focus on the Attitude Era?
Well, that's the thing. So we're in like where like the middle of the new generation era was, which is where I feel like the Hasbro's left off. And then there was like a year or two or three more of like that new generation, over the top characters, right? And then we went into the Attitude Era, which, to your credit, yes, that's where the Smoke Train saw his, I guess, rise to, intercontinental fame, right? Because before that he was Papa Shango, and then Kama also. So yes, so it will. My vision was to, like I said before I got sidetracked again, was I'm going to make the guys to continue the line. And if they were still producing figures now, I want to make those guys that were inspired by that generation. You know what I mean? So yeah, so Savio, Tony Norris, some of the other guys that we have, Mark Canterbury, Dennis Knight, those guys would have been made if it continued another year or two down the road. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's kind of was my hope, which I think, some of the other companies are touching on too, like that Jeff Jarrett, amazing. You know what I mean? Looked like the orange card. I've already seen people taking it off, and and I respect that so much, like taking it off and then putting it on their own card that that was orange with the the WWF logo on it and everything like that. Like I just saw it the other day. Actually, it looks so cool the way the guy did it. But yeah, that's definitely my goal, to try to fill in the gaps, I guess, is the best way to put it.
And it's so interesting. hearing everybody talk about everybody that's making a retro based line. So like whether it's Steve Ozer, talking from like the marketing level at Mattel, or
Right. He's a great guy, by the way.
he is, and
Yeah, totally.
and we've had the opportunity to chat with him about what Mattel's doing with the Hasbros, and kind of like that what Mattel's doing with the Hasbros, what Mattel is doing with the retros.
Retros. Well, yeah, we know what you mean.
But it's one of those things where it's so to us, it's so fascinating to hear how everyone has their own approach to how they're filling the gaps. Like,
right.
Like, they're literally, because they have, the WWE master license, and like they have some of these guys locked up, that like they could do rhythm and blues, Greg Valentine. Like they can do that kind of stuff. Versus, what Sal's doing with Rush, where it's like, wouldn't it be cool if Larry Zbyszko had a retro style figure? Like, I'm gonna make my favorite wrestlers that like completely forget about, didn't get made, would have never in a million years gotten made.
Right. Like that French Angel figure, it looks so cool, man. Like, even if you have no freaking idea who the guy is, that figure looks awesome. And I speak to Sal every day, for extended periods of time, and he's, we video chat, and like, I'm like, let me see that French. I don't know what it is about it. I always like these oddity type guys, and I just think that figure is awesome.
Yeah.
So.
And even like his twist with like doing the horror themed figures in that like that Hasbro style, like, and of course, Zombies just crushing it, making
kind of getting modern, but also filling old gaps.
Like that Danhausen figure is
everywhere.
Ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's a great, it's one of the great ones that he's done. I think the Jeff Jarrett's really awesome. I think I love the Dino Bravo. I thought that was cool. Like, he definitely should have had a Hasbro. I don't know what happened there. Because he was still around,
Yeah. But it's so cool to see, because one of the questions that inevitably always comes up is like, everybody's making retro style figures now. It's like there seems to be a new company making a retro style figure every day. But if you stop and actually look at it, and you stop and you think about it and look at it, nobody's stepping on anybody's toes, because everybody's doing it slightly differently.
Right.
And
it's very unique. It's like you can go to Wendy's, you can go to I know everybody hates the fast food, and they rib me about it too on the podcast, especially for my me being my own mascot. But I'm not going there with it this time, folks. You can go to Wendy's and get a hamburger. You can go to McDonald's, get a hamburger. You can go to Burger King, get a hamburger. And even Arby's has hamburgers now. But they're all amazing. But they all taste different. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's we're all doing the figures that are in the same scale. That I feel in my heart that all these guys, including Zombie, including Sal, including Cella or Wrestling Trader, whatever they're called now, there's a reason that we're doing this. And it's not to become millionaires. At least that's not my reason. It's just to do something that, maybe we wish would have been done back then. You know what I mean? Or could you imagine the Hasbro's ran from 1990 to 2023? Like if they had never left, the license to somebody else, you know what I mean? Like,
you'd have everybody.
Think about how many Hasbros we'd have. Yeah. And they would all look, the same for the most part. The same scale, the same. So I mean, I get. I remember being so pissed when Jakks got the license and they were taller than the Hasbros. I'm like, I get what their reasoning was, because they had to make guys again to sell more figures. There's a whole business model behind that, right? So they had to make them different scale, because they had to sell more Bret Harts. They had to sell more Undertakers. They had to sell more Shawn Michaels. I don't agree with it personally, only because they could have made multiple different outfits of most of those guys, so it didn't have to be. And plus, there was all these characters that never even got made, so they could have just made them the same scale. But in any case, that's where we had the Bendhams. I remember the Just Toys Bendhams, and I got that Diesel Bendham, and it was the same height as the Hasbros, and I remember losing my shit, because back in the day,
our brains made it work.
Yes. And I swear I swear, man, like they didn't even advertise those Bend-Ems. I remember going into Toys R Us and seeing those Bend-Ems on the pegs, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are these Bend-Ems? Like, and then I remember seeing them because I could be imagining this, but I'm almost positive they came out before the Bone Crunchers came out. Because there was that gap in between 94 and 95, which they never got released, or was it 95 and 96? Whatever it was. But there were no wrestling figures for that time. So I remember going in there and like, holy crap, like what are these things? These are not the ones that I pre-ordered from Ringside Collectibles in its infancy. You know what I mean? Because they were the ones that first had them. I remember getting a flyer in the parking lot from Ringside saying pre-order these figures. And we didn't know how big they were at the time. We just ordered them because they were on this pink, I think it was a pink flyer, I'm not mistaken. And I remember it was a black and white picture, and it was like, call this number and you can pre-order your Jax figures. This happened, people. If you're listening to this and you're a little younger than us, this really happened. I went to Nassau Coliseum, and John from Ringside, before he was John from Ringside, he was handing out these flyers with his friends, and that's how it got started. At least that's how I remember it. So
now that you have some of these talents signed, like Charles Wright, are there plans to do any of their other kind of characters or any of the other personas that they represented in the ring?
It's I feel like I've been very fortunate, to be granted certain things that I did, and the Smoke Train. What the problem is that WWE owns like Papa Shango and Kama and things like that. So it's really hard. It's a gray area. I know there are companies out there that just go ahead and do whatever the hell they want. I don't want to be one of those guys because I don't want to have any enemies in this business. And I've done everything in my power to, avoid drama and avoid having any kind of issues with anybody. You know what I mean? So the sad thing is probably not, only because, I don't want to, I'm not a millionaire. I can't afford to have any of these kind of issues happen. So I say I'm very fortunate that I've been, permitted to do certain things, and that I was able to do things. But sadly, I don't think certain things like that we can't do. However, there will be, I can tell you this is breaking news maybe, because I haven't announced this anywhere else and not even on my social media, but there will be a different colorway variant for the Smoke Train, likely. So he'll have a different color outfit on, limited edition type thing. So that's kind of cool. And then we got Mark Marrow. So I'm thinking we do Mark Marrow. Maybe we could do a Johnny B. Bad type figure. So there will be like certain things like that will have. There will be colorways, variants, and limited edition stuff like that. So hope is not lost. We will still do something to kind of, make everybody happy. So if Smoke Train is your favorite wrestler and you have a favorite Smoke Train match, you will have several incarnations of your favorite wrestler, the Smoke Train. So I hope I answered your question as best I could without saying anything incriminating.
You didn't say anything incriminating, and you didn't give away the farm. So you're good at this already. You're good at this already.
Yeah,
I'm trying. I don't know, but I do love WWE. I do love Mattel, and I do love Bill McKenna. Believe it or not, he's a great guy. He's ordered several things for me.
Yeah,
Steve and I go way back before Steve even worked for Mattel. So I have nothing but respect for those guys, and I love what they do, sincerely. And I'm glad that we can all work together. And I love all you other guys too. Even if you hate me, it's fine. That's okay. I understand. But I still love you guys, and I appreciate everybody that's pitching in to keep the dream alive with the Hasbro-esque figures.
So will the line stay in that Hasbro retro style, or are there plans to expand to more styles?
This is another good question. I will always keep the dream alive with the Hasbro-esque figures. But next question. Yes, there'll be some other stuff coming down the pipe. I don't know. It's, whatever it is, it's coming. Something's coming.
But yeah, you can say the Pike.
The Pike, the Jersey Turnpike. Hey, my cousin's in New Jersey. Yeah. Plus, don't forget Sal is doing the ECW. Yeah. Rush Collectibles. He's doing the ECW San Francisco Toy Maker style figures. So that's a separate. Again, I have nothing to do with that, but I'm just saying there are other things, and I know some of the other companies have done the 6-inch figures
and Bone Crunchers.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, did you see that Macho Man? How are they even doing it? I don't even know how that works.
I don't know how they figured that out. I don't know. But hey,
isn't there an Atom Bomb coming out too?
There's an Atom Bomb. There's a Blue Meanie. It seems like something, and I don't know how factual this is, but from what I can tell, that it looks like Cella might have been purchased
by Wrestling Trader.
By Wrestling Trader. Yeah. It seems like that's what happened. I don't know if maybe they ran into some issues with managing like production, or they were documenting it pretty well on their social media feed. But it seems like Wrestling Trader is kind of taking the reins. But yeah, to your point. Lots of options out there, but we're excited for what you have to offer here.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm digging everything that I'm just on a personal level, and listeners don't take this the wrong way, but I'm very happy I don't collect wrestling figures right now personally, because there would be thousands of dollars a year spent on all these, because I'm compelled to support all these people, and I would just be broke from buying.
Can confirm.
Yeah, it's
tough.
It's not easy.
It's not
really tough.
It really isn't.
There's so much. There's just so much content now. And
I wish more of it sucked.
Yeah.
I wish any of it did. Like, it's all good.
Yeah, this is true. Any of it. Somebody please
make
a bad figure.
My problem is this. I leaned over to my wife the other night. We were just laying there watching TV or whatever, and I'm like, man, now we're making these Hasbro style figures, and I'm like, shit, now I really want to go back and get all the Hasbros again, so I could stick my figures with the Hasbros. And she just gave me like the dirtiest look, man. And I was like, never mind. I think it's a bad idea, but I think, don't tell her, but I think little by little, I'm going to be like, oh, I got this so I can compare the scale to
research.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see they're in scale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's research.
Yeah, it's research and development. So I have to get them. So little by little, maybe,
Well, that's the thing. You write a line item into the line's budget. You gotta have that R&D line item.
Yes.
And it's like, hey, like maybe I cut some of these figures in half to figure out mechanisms, and like maybe some of them are just for scale purposes.
Yeah. That's another thing too, man. Like, I wish I could get these things to have actions,
Yeah.
But yeah, I also feel like for what they are, they don't need actions, And I don't think people want to pay double the amount for figures just so it can go like that. You know what I mean?
The other thing too is like realistically, the people who are buying these, like
we're not playing with them.
We're not playing with
right.
them.
Right, which is what everybody says, But just for me as being like an insanely, OCD, I don't even know, anal person. I want them to have those actions. It's not cost efficient. It just doesn't. And a lot of people, like you say, are keeping them carded. They're not, if they're opening them, they're just putting them here on the shelf. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're not essential, but it would be awesome to. I wish I had the money and the power to do this. You know what I mean? But it's just it's not in the cards. At least not right now, anyway.
So before we head into our final question here, there's just one other thing I wanted to ask. We've talked about in depth about the store and how you've moved the store and you've learned a lot through the store, and now you've launched this toy line. Is there anything that you've learned from owning a toy store that you're kind of taking with you into starting a toy line? Like, is there anything that you're doing, any of those learnings that kind of inform the decisions that you're making as now somebody who runs a toy line?
Yes. It helps, like, when you know how to like budget certain things and like what you got to do to get to certain levels. And thankfully, because of the store and because of my I guess good dealings with people, I feel like that's definitely contributed indirectly or directly to um, the success that we had right away. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I always try to like support like Sal, who doesn't have a store, who doesn't do this full time, who just kind of starting out in the toy business. You know what I mean? Because he didn't have to follow him, and he did it. He did a lot with what he had. You know what I mean? I feel like it was it was slightly easier because I had, like you say, I had the experience, I had the distribution. I already know how to like pack up 50 boxes in a day. You know what I mean? Because I did a massive claim sale or something like that. So that's all going to help me. You know what I mean? And then the fact that, I mean, the first and foremost thing is that I made these lifelong friends in this business. So, like, I'd say 90% of the people that you see that I've signed for Grapplers and Gimmicks, or that I'm producing figures of already, are people that I've already spoken to or have had in the New York store, or people that I've already had relationships with. I didn't have to like. For most of them, I didn't have to. Hey, can you get me so and so's number, or I have to go through an agent, or I had to blah blah blah. Thankfully, I've treated a lot of the talent and a lot of the wrestlers with respect, because I do respect them and the sacrifices they really did make. It sounds like when WWE says it sometimes on these documentaries, it kind of sounds like it's kind of like, not cliche, but it's something that it's like a standard, and it maybe becomes like desensitized. You become desensitized to it a little bit. But when I say it, I could say it from personal experience that it really is. That's genuine. You know what I mean? And what they say is true. You know what I mean? Because I sit with these guys at dinner. That's a popular rib now too, with the steaks and all. But I speak to these guys about their life experiences, and and you treat them. You just got to treat them nice, man. And you treat everybody nice. It doesn't matter if they're famous or not. And then there's one lesson that I learned in life, is that it comes back to you, man. You treat people nice. I'm a big believer in karma. So if so yes, to answer your question, 100%, it's definitely helped me. There is a lot of good that came out of owning the store and already having some kind of a foundation with these guys and stuff like that. So,
Well, with that, it's time for our final question. So, Dave, would you like to fulfill your role as this podcast's James Lipton and ask our final question?
Why, yes, I would. So our final question that we ask to all of our guests: what is your favorite and/or strangest piece in your collection? It can be one of each, or it can be both.
The strangest. Ooh, this is good. This is a good question. The strangest thing I own. I don't know if it's strange, but I have like a weird obsession with Popeye, and I actually bought a Robin Williams custom 1/6 Ed a few years ago, and I'm pretty good at painting from my customizing days, and I put together, assembled a Popeye 1/6 action figure of Robin Williams, because there's literally zero action figures of Robin Williams as Popeye from the 1980 movie, and so that's probably the most unique or strange thing that I own. Was something that I put together from different pieces and stuff like that.
That's
But I will.
amazing. You're gonna have to share a picture of that with us.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because
Oh,
I
100%.
also have a weird Popeye obsession.
Do you?
Spinach is actually my favorite vegetable because
Same.
um
Spinach rolls, spinach from a can, frozen spinach, creamed spinach. I eat it all.
I literally just picked
Boss
up
Fight
the
Studios.
Boss Fight Studios Popeye. I have Popeye, I have Olive, and Bluto will be here tomorrow. So.
Who was it? Castor oil was the other one, or
Yeah,
coal oil? One of the other
yeah,
oils.
yeah. It's Castor. I'm not getting all of them. I'm cherry picking, but
I have all the Mezco figures from the early 2000s. I have a figure that's you can't even find anywhere online. It's like a Japanese Toy Fair exclusive. It's just like one of the rarest action figures, I guess, in existence that people don't know about.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's up there with like the Blank from Dick Tracy.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll send you tons of pictures, man. I got a pretty sick Popeye collection.
So I have that Nintendo from like the early '80s, the Game and Watch tabletop.
The
not
green
the little
one?
handheld
Yeah.
Game and Touch. Yeah, the green one.
I have it. I still have my original one from when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's just mine's missing the battery door, the little slidey thing. But other than that, it's still fully functional. So
Nice.
yeah, that's great. That that music when you get the spinach.
I love that game. Yep.
Oh, it's the best.
And she kicks the spinach can.
Mhm.
Oh man! But I also have the Popeye, the board game. There was a board game that came out for the movie. It's like a square box, but I don't have the pieces for it anymore. But I still have the original square. I'll send you guys pictures of it. It's so awesome, very cool. One of my favorite pieces. It's also one of my favorites, but I have a few. I think my favorite piece is probably a tie. I have the premium format Mummy. I love that. That's probably one of my rarest and most favorite pieces that I own. It's massive and it's hard to get as well. But I also have a prototype of the Library Ghost from. I know of only two other people in the world that have one. One of them is Matt Cardona, and the other one is this guy Shrek. The Shrek, he's got like a page on Facebook. He's a cool guy, but he also owns one. So I'm one of three people in the world that have this prototype of the Library Ghost from Eleanor Twitty from Ghostbusters. So that's probably my two favorite things.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Very cool. So before we let you go, please remind our listeners, where can they find you on the web? Where can they find you on social media? And most importantly, where can they pre-order their Grapplers and Gimmicks Charles Wright Smoke Train?
So it's a Hastteltoy and or Grapplers and Gimmicks on Instagram. That's the best way to kind of keep in touch and find out what's going on and what figures are coming out and all that good stuff. Also Facebook, Hastteltoy, HASTTELTOY, one toy, not two. Hastteltoy.com is where you can go and purchase your pre-order for the Smoke Train, and I will also reveal another thing because I've had so much fun here, genuinely. I will reveal one other thing, and that is about 5 days ago, I paid for the entire run to be made. So they are officially in the works. And so we won't have to wait a year to have them. We won't have to wait, 5 months to have them. Hopefully, within 2.5 months ish, we should have them in hand, and we'll distribute those. In the meantime, we will be doing another pre-order. I believe Ahmed, aka Tony Norris, is what we're calling it, will be the next figure in the line, which I believe is a very popular one. People are really looking forward to that one. And the only reason for that is, again, these are all exclusive things that I have not revealed anywhere else, is that the Savio, Savio was supposed to be second, and aka Juan Rivera was supposed to be second, but with the sculpt, I wanted it a certain way, and we did a lot of back and forth, and I think now we finally perfected it, so it's done. But in order to keep the ball rolling, so to speak, I decided to put Ahmed Johnson ahead because we got the sculpt down to where I wanted it, and I felt like it was perfect, literally perfect, and so I decided to make the judgment call to just kind of skip a little bit, just so we can make this Tio Savio perfect, because I want it to look exactly how I imagined it. So, but anyway, so there's a little bit of a exclusive info for you guys. So awesome. You won't have to wait a terribly long time if you pre-order the Godfather Smoke Train figure. He's the Godfather on Instagram if you want to follow him. So that's funny.
Well, congratulations, man. That's huge news.
Yeah.
So
man, you guys got it. So I haven't even posted that on Instagram or anything. Probably within the next few days, once this airs, I'll give it a day or two, whatever you let me know. And then I'll probably announce that, whatever I said to you just now as far as like distribution and manufacturing and stuff like that. So, but it's in the works.
Very cool. Well,
sweet.
We'll of course include links to everything that you mentioned, in the show notes. So everyone that's listening, just hit the show notes, tap the links, and hit the follow buttons and the subscribe buttons and all of that. Mitch, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We're really excited to see what you do next with Grapplers and Gimmicks.
It's a pleasure. I love being on here, and you guys asked legitimately. I mean it from my heart. Like you asked me some good stuff that I hadn't been asked previously. So you guys got a good thing rolling here. Just keep it rolling. Just follow your heart. And seems like you guys already have a pretty nice following and everything, but it can only grow and get better. So just keep doing your thing, and I'll be here to help you guys. And if you ever want to have me back on again, I'm always down the road. I'll always be here, at your disposal if you want to have me back on again. All right?
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Dave, send us home.
Everybody, have fun. Enjoy all your toys.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.